The storm came without warning. One moment the merchant ship cut steadily through dark water, and the next it was being hurled sideways by waves, tall as buildings. Thunder rolled overhead, cracking the sky open, while rain lashed the deck like thrown gravel. The vessel groaned and screamed, as if it were alive, wood and steel bending under forces never meant for human hands. A sailor clung to the railing near the starboard side, fingers white, knuckles raw, his boots sliding as the deck tilted beneath him. Every wave threatened to tear him loose and drag him into the black water below. The wind stole his breath, howling so loud it drowned out every shouted order. Then came the sound that froze his blood. A sharp metallic snap echoed through the storm. One of the forward cables had failed. Before he could react, a hand clamped onto his shoulder, steady and firm. He spun around with a gasp, heart hammering, only to see one of his shipmates shouting directly into his ear. The man pointed toward the bow, his mouth forming words the storm tried to erase. They had to fix it. Now, together they fought their way forward, leaning into the wind, gripping ropes and railings just to stay upright. The ship lurched violently as another wave smashed into its side. At the bow, the broken cable whipped wildly, slamming against the deck like a living thing. The sailor dropped to one knee and began working with numb fingers, hauling, tying, pulling with everything he had left. For a moment, the world narrowed to rope and pain and rain. Then a felt Italiano silence, not from the storm, but from behind him. He looked up. His shipmate had stopped moving. The man stood rigid, staring past him, eyes wide, mouth slightly open. Fear poured off him like sweat. The sailor turned slowly. The sea had risen not as a wave, as something else. A massive shape broke the surface, slick and black, stretching impossibly high into the air. A tentacle, it was thicker than the ship's mast, covered in ridges and scars, water cascading down its length. For a heartbeat, the sailor could only stare, mind refusing to accept what his eyes were showing him. Then the tentacle came down. The deck exploded beneath its impact. Wood shattered, metal buckled. The sailor threw himself aside just as the appendage slammed down where he had been standing, where his shipmates still stood. The scream never finished. More tentacles followed. They rose from the sea like pillars, smashing and crushing, tearing the ship apart piece by piece. The deck split open. A blow caught the sailor in the side and hurled him across the bow. Everything went black. When it cametto, he lay half-buried in wreckage, rain pooling around him. The storm raged on, and the attack had not stopped. The ship was dying. Through blurred vision, he saw shadows moving, massive shapes writhing above and below the surface. With shaking hands, he pushed himself up and grabbed the first weapon he could find. A jagged plank snapped to a brutal point. He ran, screaming, not in fear, but in defiance. He drove the sharpened wood into the nearest tentacle with every ounce of strength he had left. The sea answered with a roar, a sound so deep and powerful it vibrated through his bones. The tentacle recoiled. Then another, then all of them. They fell limp, sliding back into the ocean like dying serpents. For a moment, there was only the storm. The sailor stood there, chest heaving, staring at the devastation around him. Bodies lay twisted across the deck. The ship was broken beyond saving. As he took a step forward, the water in front of him bulged outward. Something enormous rose from beneath the waves. A head, broad, scarred, larger than any building he had ever seen. Two vast black eyes stared at him, ancient and indifferent. This was no animal. This was something older, something that did not belong to the world of men. The creature lifted itself higher, revealing arms coiling beneath the surface. Then it wrapped them around the ship. Wood screamed, "Metal? Torre?" The sailor barely had time to close his eyes before the entire vessel was dragged down into the depths. Cold water swallowed him. Darkness pressed in from all sides. He fought, kicked, scratched his way upward until his lungs burned. At last, he burst through the surface, gasping, choking. Rain mixing with salt and tears. The ship was gone. The crew was gone. It was alone, but not for long. The sea ahead of him began to rise again. The creature's head emerged slowly, deliberately, as if savoring the moment. Its eyes fixed on him. It extended a single arm, curling it toward him, drawing him closer. Its beaked mouth opened. Then the night exploded. A thunderous blast lit up the storm, not from the sky, but from the sea itself. Something struck the creature with tremendous force. The arm loosened. The sailor fell back into the water as both he and the beast turned toward the source. A warship rose from the ocean. Not sailed, not surfaced. It emerged as if it had always been there, climbing out of the deep like a ghost made of steel. Cannons fired again, lighting the rain with fire. The creature roared and released the sailor completely, turning its fury toward this new challenger. The two titans moved toward each other. The sailor could only watch as the battle unfolded. Ancient power colliding with human steel. He did not know it then, but this was not the first time, and it would not be the last. For centuries, sailors had whispered of storms where ships vanished without wreckage, of sea monsters struck down by phantom guns, of battles fought far from shore, unseen by the world. The creature had hunted these waters longer than any nation had sailed them. It rose during storms, drawn to chaos and vulnerability, and each time it did, the warship followed. The ship did not belong to any navy. No flag flew from its mast. Witnesses described it as hazy, unreal, as if it existed half in memory, half in reality. Its crew never aged, never died. Long ago, their original vessel had been destroyed by the same monster. They had sunk into darkness and awoken bound to a purpose. A guardian's curse, an endless pursuit. They hunted the Leviathan wherever it surfaced, driving it back into the depths again and again. But time changed even ancient things. The monster grew larger, stronger, bolder, and beneath the ocean, something else waited. Far below the surface lay a scar in the seabed, sealed by iron and stone. Heat bled through the ocean floor. Something imprisoned, something that should never be freed. The creature returned there often, clearing rock and sediment, working patiently, and it was nearly finished. The warship fought on, intercepting attacks, saving countless lives without ever being known. But even it had limits. During one encounter, another presence appeared. Something vast, something watching. Eyes opened beneath the waves, too many to count. The ship was destroyed in moments, crushed as if made of paper. The Guardian vessel drove the Leviathan away, but the damage was done. The Watchers had awakened. Now the sea holds its breath. Storms grow more violent. Disappearances increase, and somewhere in the deep, ancient seals weaken. The battle between monster and guardian continues, unseen, unending, and one day soon, it may no longer be enough.